The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. You've joined Focus on the Midwest, Success Stories, and Using Food Day 2013 to Reach Your Goals. We're very excited to have a number of panelists on the line today who will let you know about their experiences in past food days, using Food Day to reach their goals, both personal and professional. And we're very thrilled to have them to describe what process they went through and give you some ideas for your organizing this year. So I wanted to just take a moment to introduce myself and introduce you to the webinar platform. My name is Catherine Castleman. I'm a project coordinator with the Food Day campaign. We're based out of the Center for Science in the Public Interest, which is a nonprofit in Washington, D.C. And there are 4 full-time staff here in the national office. I am one of them. And our campaign manager, Lilia Smelkova, you may have received her emails, as well as another project coordinator, Haley Galuli, who many of you may have worked with, and our project assistant, Avi Schlossberg. We're using the GoToWebinar platform today, so if you have any questions during the call or would like to make a comment, go ahead and type them into the chat box on your screen, and I'll either be able to type a response to you as we're going along, or I'll address them at the end after our presentation. During the Q&A session at the end, I hope you will all take the opportunity to introduce yourself verbally to each other, maybe say why you joined the call, which organization you work with, and hopefully this can be a chance for you to network and connect with each other across the region. So we are recording this call, and we'll be sending a link to everyone who registered within a week. But you can also find them on the recording links on the updates page at foodday.org. So if you're looking to listen to this again later or send a link to a colleague, we'll try to post that immediately after the call, and then we'll send a follow-up email later. If you have any other questions, please contact us at foodday@cscinet.org. Quickly, I wanted to mention that we have an upcoming series of webinars called the Food Day Leadership Series. On April 17th at 2 p.m. Eastern, we'll be covering the topic of building coalitions with Michael Dimmick, who has years of experience building coalitions in the state of California with the Roots of Change organization. On May 15th, we'll be covering the topic of community change with a variety of conceptual introductions to the theory of change and community change, as well as some practical advice from people who are organizing on the ground. On June 19th, we'll cover policy change with Mark Winnie, who is a food policy council consultant who's worked with a variety of food policy councils across the country. And July 17th, we'll be covering Making Your Point to the Media to help you get a start on framing the discourse around your Food Day event and your messaging so that you can make an effective point to local and state and national media outlets. So you can find the registration links for these Food Day Leadership Series webinars at foodday.org/updates, and let us know if you have any questions or would like to suggest topics for us to cover. Here's our call agenda for today. I'm going to give a brief national update, and then we're going to move to Katie Plohocky, who's with the Tulsa Food Security Council. And she's done an excellent job for the past 2 years organizing folks in the Tulsa area and addressing the issue of food security. Lesley Craig is the Public Health Advisor with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services in Region 5. She's based out of Chicago, and she's going to talk about her experiences organizing in Chicago. Lindsay Scalera is with Michigan Voices for Good Food Policy, and she's here to tell us about her experience. And Gordon Rock is with Kansas City Food Day Coalition. He's going to jump in at the end and describe the Apple Share event that they did across the city, as well as a number of other events that they were able to pull off last year. And then we'll move on to questions and answers. And again, if you have any questions or comments during the presentation, just go ahead and type them in. And then you can also raise your hand to be unmuted at the end. So here's the brief national update about what's going on at Food Day. We've just released our campaign report for 2012, It's a really beautiful document. We had such great pictures and videos and articles written up about all of your events last year, and so we're excited to be able to share them with the entire country. Our advisory board, which includes around 80 members, will be receiving this report, and so they'll get to see the local efforts that happened around the country. We had 3,200 events in all 50 states for Food Day 2012, and we're hoping to just grow that this year and make it an even bigger effort. You can take a look at the campaign report on foodday.org, and it's a really good place to start if you're looking for inspiration. I think a lot of these events are translatable to many different locales. Here's just a sample of some of the beautiful publicity that folks did for their Food Day events. On the left, you'll see the Big Apple Crunch in New York City, which involved 400,000 New Yorkers biting into an apple at the same time. The Food Day Fair at University of Arizona, they created a beautiful poster for a week of activities. There was a food art show, and there's also Nashville's Food Day. They created some great campaigns around their citywide Food Day celebration. I also wanted to point out our selected press archive, which you can find online under the resources section. This will be a good way to give your partners and potential partners a sense of the scope of what happened on Food Day 2012. And it'll also help you to get a sense of how Food Day was covered, the events that people did, and maybe some goals to aim for this year in getting your own media coverage. Also in the resources section, there are a number of things you could take a look at to get started. I really recommend taking a look at our organizer's guide if you're new to Food Day Guide for Organizers. It's a really helpful way to get started with event planning and also just get familiarized with the language of Food Day. You'll also find pictured here the recipe book. We created this in 2011 and have used it for several years. An I Eat Real sign that can be printed out and used at events. And our Food Day school curriculum, which was designed by professors at Teachers College at Columbia University. So all of these resources are available to you. They're free and downloadable, and I really urge you to check them out. So again, here's the Food Day Leadership Series, and I'm going to turn it over to our presenters now to talk more about what they were able to accomplish in 2012 and how they used Food Day to achieve their goals. I think we're really looking towards an even better Food Day this year, and all of you will make it possible. So your efforts and your organizing on the ground are what make Food Day great. And at this point, I'll let Katie Plohocky start her presentation. She's joining us from Tulsa, from Oklahoma. She's at a conference, and she agreed to join us today. And she's going to tell us a little bit about Tulsa's efforts around food security and what she was able to accomplish with the Tulsa Food Security Council. So Katie, you should be able to hit OK now, and we'll see your slides in a moment. We may be experiencing a little bit of a delay.
Define a moment.
Oh, okay. I've just got the show my screen. I've clicked it, so hopefully we'll be looking at this in a minute. Let me know when you see it.
Okay. Yeah, you can go ahead and introduce yourself, and we'll get started when we see your slides. I'll let you know.
While we're waiting for the slide to come up, I think there may be a little delay. I'll go ahead and, okay. Okay, great. My name is Katie Plohocky. I have been the chairperson for the Tulsa Food Security Council for 3 years now. I've also been the coordinator for our area. This will be my third Food Day. I help support other organizations and agencies with their events, and I also plan and execute several events with the help of community partners. I use a very grassroots approach, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that approach. It may be not good for everyone, but it's really worked well for me in doing a lot of events. I was asked to provide a step-by-step process to planning Food Day. I usually tease that I'm an extreme event planner, and what I mean by that is I always say if you forget that forget to plan your event, call me and I can get it ready by tomorrow, and that's kind of how I handle this. Since are my slides still not up?
No, I'm sorry to say they're not. Do you want me to show them from my end, Katie?
Okay, I'm just going to keep talking. I hope everybody can hear me. Sure, if you'd like. It just may be a big file. Maybe that's a problem.
Okay, let me try showing them from here.
Well, for time, I can keep talking about them even if we don't have time. Okay.
Okay, Katie, you can go ahead.
Okay. I usually have a lot of ideas. I'm kind of an idea person, so I like to seed those ideas, which means that I get an idea and I start to talk to folks about it. And I try to gauge for my partners and my networking base what's a good idea and what people get excited about. If somebody gets really excited about an idea, then I know that I'm onto something. Some of the basics of getting an idea, you need to understand your target market, also finding your resources and your partners. And sometimes those can be the same, two things. Also, getting media and policymakers involved is key. So really what I start with is planning for Food Day ideas, my target audience, resources, partners, media, and policymakers. Let's see here. So let's go with ideas. And I'm going to go through the slideshow myself while I'm doing this just so I know where I'm at. Okay, so ideas, things that we've done in the past is the Taste of North Tulsa, Food Glorious Food Festival, Guthrie Green, Sunday at the Park, a film festival, Community Gardeners, Lindsay University, which is kind of a student day, playing high school alumni breakfast. New for this year, we're going to do a food systems summit. Some of these events we did the first year, and they were such a success that we've continued to do them annually, and then we tend to just kind of add more ideas as we go each year. Now is really the time to start planning for October. The first Food Day that I did 2 years ago, we actually put together in about 6 weeks. I don't advise doing it that way. Gathering a planning team to brainstorm and break out the workload is recommended. Your partners are going to be extremely important, especially if you don't have a budget or a lot of resources. As I plant those seeds and I see who gets excited, they're usually the first on my list to circle back for an ask. This process also weeds out the ideas. Now I work on a lot of different ideas and I work with a lot of different groups, so I'm coordinating probably 5 to 10 events during Food Day. Some of you all may work for an education, a university or an organization or an agency, and you're just wanting to do something with your specific agency, and that's great. You'll have a lot more the ability to just really focus on one thing. The Taste of North Tulsa, Better Choices, Longer Life. This will actually be our 5th year that we do this. It's an idea where we target an audience of the high school students as well as the community. We ask restaurants to come in and provide healthy options from their menu, and the community comes in free of charge and gets to eat. We usually have about 450 people. We also have a lot of partners that provide services and information. Some of those partners are medical professionals, universities and schools, health educators, food security organizations, social service agencies, municipalities, volunteers, parks and restaurants. Why my partners are so important is because I do all of my events with absolutely zero budget. And so the partners are able to come in and provide resources. And those resources are pretty much the same, but they could be facilities. Where am I going to hold the event? Is it going to be at a park? Is it going to be at a university? Who can give me free space? And usually that partner that does that calls the health department. Also provides some other amenities such as sound systems and things like that. So partners are the single most important ingredient. What I do is ask them for specific resources. Can you print flyers for me? Chefs, can you come in and do a demonstration? I like it to be a two-way street. If they're going to provide me a resource, I want this to be beneficial for them as well. So I do tell them if they can help me that we would love, if you can provide us some money, which is always the hardest thing to find, is you love to put your logo on a flyer and marketing material. If you provide a demonstration local chef and you provide the food, please bring your business cards and your restaurant information, bring coupons, promote yourself. Finding partners and allowing them to participate and get some recognition for that at the same time is a great way to have a win-win situation. Guthrie Green, we did a film festival last year. It was a collaboration between many folks, Global Gardens, our local Circle Cinema, which is an independent cinema, a huge, beautiful new park that they were able to drop down a screen. We did yoga before the film, so it was a really great partnership as well. Let's see. And you're missing all the beautiful pictures. Your target audience is important. When you plan an event, who are you planning it for? Everyone, just kid-friendly, families, students, disadvantaged communities, elected officials, educators. Policy is very important for us, and so we do a little bit of everything. We want the elected officials at our events. We want them to understand what the issues are because they're the ones that can make change in our communities. It also provides opportunity by bringing elected officials to our events. We'll be more likely to get the media there because the media not only likes to have a great idea or a national event, they love to have an elected official there. And if you can throw in some kids and some animals, you're a shoo-in for getting the media to come in and help you. Last year we partnered with the Tulsa Health Department and did Food Glorious Food. This was very kid oriented. We were targeting kids. We wanted kids to come and have fun. We did cooking demonstrations, but we actually had a child help do the cooking demonstration. His mom was a nutritionist, so he did a great job and passed out samples, and all the other kids were very engaged because they saw another child up there doing that. We did veggie wraps and music and art with the fruits and vegetables and composting and permaculture. It was a really great event, but again, we had lots of partners. We had the food bank that gave us food or recipe books. We had the composting people came in. We had chefs that came in and brought the food, so we didn't have to pay for that. We did an event with about 200 people on $0 budget. Langston University University also does a project each year. They have 300 students come. They try to make it fun with the events that they do, as well as train them, because they are our future, so the kids are important. Media, you know, your press release is really important. You want other people within the community to participate in your events if that's what their purpose is. You also afterwards want people to understand what you're doing so you can continue the conversation throughout the year. You know, press releases, television, radio. Again, with television, I got the mayor's wife to come on TV with me to do a cooking demonstration, and they didn't know me, but they certainly knew her, and so they made sure that we were able to do that. So having a personality go with you if you don't know the media is important. Shoot your own video and put it on YouTube. Social media is very important. I have an Oklahoma Food Day Facebook, and I use it to get the word out, not only building up to Food Day and on Food Day, but I get a lot of activity throughout the year as well, and I can get information about health and nutrition through that. Event booths is another way to get out your information. I went to the park every Sunday for the entire month of October, which is their busy day, and they have entertainment and lots of kids activities, and pass out information about Food Day to get them thinking about it leading up to that day. Blogs also are very important. Again, the last but not least, the policymakers. Your mayor is important, your city council, your state legislators, your federal legislators, your health departments, commissioners, and superintendents. All these folks are very important to changing policy around food. And we get somebody to almost all of our events. We have a lot of participation from our local state legislators. Our mayor and his wife has been involved. Last year, our state education superintendent came to our high school and saw the event. The health department, you know, they have a lot of rules and regulations, your city councils. So it's very important to have your policymakers at the table. We go after Food Day proclamations. Our mayor has done it 2 years in a row, and last year we were able to also get a proclamation from the state of Oklahoma, Governor Fallon. Our goal is each year to get more and more cities in our communities to pass a proclamation. So again, just to recap, planning Food Day, we start off with an idea. We understand who our target market is, our target audience, where our resources are coming from, who are our partners, getting the media there, and also getting our policymakers there. The Tulsa Food Security Council, how this really helps us. Our program called PACE is Policy Awareness, Connectivity, and Economics. And Food Day really addresses all 4 of those cornerstones of our foundation, and we continue to build and build every year. And each year we have more and more people within the community that also want to do events. So we're just trying to beat, I think it was Portland or Oregon last year that had most events. So we just really want to bring awareness. And with that, I think I am done.
Katie, thank you so much for joining us, and we really appreciate your perspective. We'll try to share your slides with everyone so that they can see what you were talking about. We were able to show them as you were talking, but didn't always sync up. So thank you again.
Oh,
and
now, okay, I didn't see that. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to Lesley Craig, who's the Public Health Advisor from the Department of Health and Human Services in Chicago with the Region 5 group. So Lesley, go ahead and take it away.
Sure. Thanks so much for having us today. I'm very happy to be presenting on behalf of our Chicago area coordinating body on Food Day. There's similar to Tulsa. There's many, many folks involved and at the table helping to make this happen here in the Chicago area. Catherine, you're going to be able to pull those slides up?
Yes, they should be showing. Oh, let's see. Okay, I have to show your application.
Great. Thank you. I'm just going to get started. So Food Day has been coordinated out of our office here at HHS for the last 3 years. And this is actually the 2nd year that I've been involved to help lead the collaborative effort in the Chicago area. and have really had the opportunity to work off of the foundation of the past 2 years, as well as guidance from CSPI, and they've been very helpful. And we've had a lot of hardworking student interns that have come through our doors to help out as well. So we're really excited about Food Day, and that we're really able to build some really lasting partnerships, new partnerships each year with a lot of community organizations and individuals to ensure that Food Day really thrives in the Chicago area. So today I'm just going to talk a little bit about how we're coordinating Food Day here in Chicago in 2013, because a lot of our plans for this year are actually based on lessons learned from last year. And so you'll see the slide that's up right now is, the main pieces that I want to really get across in my presentation today, and I think that Katie really touched on this in her presentation as well, is that you really just need to communicate, let people know how they can be at the table, and to engage motivated and passionate people. And we found in Chicago that that's not necessarily hard to do around eating real food. So you just got to find people that wanna be involved and are willing to step up and take some responsibility and be involved. So here are some of our goals for just internally in Chicago. We kind of look at, okay, what do we want to make sure really happens this year for Chicago? How can we shine? And we're really focused on making sure that within our own community that we're empowering the organizations we work with to message around Food Day, to be excited about the Food Day message, to maybe take one of the 5 priorities of Food Day and really take ownership of that and be a voice for that issue. And then, of course, we want to increase participation, not only attendees at the events and activities that are hosted, but also participation of different organizations in the community to get involved and host events. So that's kind of what we're looking at for our goals in 2013 for Chicago Food Day. And I do want to apologize if you don't see your organization on here and you are at the table. This is not a comprehensive list of everybody we work with, but I wanted to give a picture of the different groups that we work with. We do work really closely with the City of Chicago to make sure that we are able to bring public officials in and folks of that nature as much as possible, and that we can have a real citywide approach to this. And then, as you can see, there's a variety of other folks involved, from community organizations to medical institutions to academic institutions. And then we also have sort of individuals, journalists, writers, chefs, culinary students interested in public health, all at the table. So we've got a nice wide variety of folks to work with. We've used the expertise that we are so thrilled to have to really help develop an organizing structure here in Chicago. And similar to what Katie was saying, everybody kind of works with their community to find what works best for Food Day, and we find that we're sort of constantly tweaking and revising how we organize here. But this is sort of the when you have to really break it down, what it looks like. So, we focus on recruiting folks, and we use contact lists from 2011, 2012, and now we're building 2013, and we had the ability to use CSPI. Haley was able to share contacts that they've established in the past, so we have a pretty solid contact list of folks, not just in the Chicagoland area, but we're really engaging folks around the region, in fact. And we also are doing a much bigger push on social media this year to engage folks. And then we have consistent events and meetings that we try to encourage people to attend. Additionally, we also table at different conferences and festivals and community meetings to continue to grow our contact list and let people know how they can get involved with Food Day. So how we work to retain these folks is through our meetings and through engagement in committees. So as you can see, our meeting schedule listed below, we have bi-monthly meetings as well as, and then in June we'll start having monthly meetings. And this meeting schedule was really structured based on the feedback from last year's Food Day. So we had a post-Food Day meeting with all of the community organizations and individuals that came to the table and said, what do you want to see us do differently? And we did this. We had a conversation in person as well as sent out an electronic questionnaire to get feedback on how we could improve our planning process. So we directly followed the community's input on how we should structure our meetings, and that's the meeting schedule they requested. So we've had 2 meetings to date, and we'll be having another meeting on April 23rd. And following all of these meetings, we send out our meeting notes as well as next steps. And those next steps typically include 3 very concrete ways that somebody can engage in Food Day. You know, some being very highly intensive engagement, and then the third one typically being, you know, make sure to like us on Facebook, so that there are ways that anybody can get involved. And then this year we've also developed a sign-on form, which really just asks people about their level of interest in Food Day efforts. It doesn't ask for you to commit to anything, but it does ask, you know, would you like to host an event? Would you like to volunteer? We host a collective event that I'll talk about briefly, and we want to make sure that folks are aware of that and gauge their interest to participate in that. And then we also inquire about the committees, which I'll talk about a little bit more. But as you can see, we have established committees this year, and this was based, again, on feedback from our community partners. They said, yes, we would like you to have committees. This is the types of committees we'd like to see happen. And so what we do is we say if there's a chairperson and a handful of people that are motivated to meet consistently, then that committee will exist. If there isn't, then we'll fold the committees as a way to just kind of keep the workload going and to ensure that nobody is, and that there aren't just work groups meeting to meet, but rather there's always a purpose. So if you look at the proposed committees on the next slide, you'll see that we are looking to engage academic institutions. We also have a collective event that we host every year, and I'm thrilled to say that our chair, Janet Wilhelms, is fabulous. She's with Red Meat Market and also chaired the event last year. I'll talk a little bit briefly about that event shortly. And then we have Chef Eric Stein with Kendall College and Enlightened Flavors, who has stepped up to chair our restaurant committee. Our social media committee is chaired by Jeannie Boutel, who is a writer with Local Beat and Edible Chicago. And we are also looking at potentially forming a sponsorship and worksite committee. So those would obviously work to gain support and funding for Food Day efforts across the city as a collective entity. And then also the worksite piece would be focused on ensuring that employers in the Chicagoland area know that Food Day exists and can bring real food to their office environment and establish sort of a culture of wellness and healthy eating, and use Food Day as a tool to do that. So those are the committees we have proposed this year. And then briefly, just to go into our collective event to share more about what we've done, and I will tell you we could discuss the implementation of this event alone in the time of this presentation times 12. There's a lot of details involved, and Janet Wilhelms from Red Meat Market does a fantastic job making sure that organizations and individuals are really at the table, and it truly is a collective, collaborative effort. So it's in partnership with the City of Chicago, who hosts, the city hosts farmers markets throughout the city, including a large weekly market downtown at Daly Plaza. And so this year, the city has actually offered to extend the length of their market season to host a special Food Day market on October 24th. So this is what we'll be doing, and we'll be featured there. There will be a Food Day presence throughout Daly Plaza. We'll have scattered in educational tents, and this year we're requiring that the organizations that host those educational tables actually apply to do so. So they have to describe the purpose of their table, the educational activity that they'll offer, what the interactive component will be for that, materials they'll be distributing, and indicate how they're going to be aligning with the 5 priorities of Food Day, because there's limited space, and we want to make sure that we have really engaging educational folks leading those tables. And then from there, we'll also have a general resource table where all the community partners that want to be involved, that don't necessarily want to host the table, don't have the staff capacity, et cetera, can leave their materials out, and we'll have some staff there that just sort of can work that table for the day. We're also really focusing on working with the farmers and the vendors that are already going to be there through their work with the city to make sure that they're fully aware that Food Day is going to be there and that they have a presence and feel engaged and involved in the activity as well. We are thrilled that we are talking with Chicago Public Schools to potentially bus some students in to participate in the day. And then, as you can see from the pictures here, we also set up a nice big stage, and we're able to do demonstrations as well as presentations and play music throughout the day. So that is what our collective event looks like. And then I briefly want to touch on social media led by Jeannie Boutel. Our social media and online presence this year, we're trying to have a big splash. You can see how you can access us. We're looking at developing a Pinterest this year. And then we also have a way that you can locate our information both locally, and we refer people, of course, to the national foodday.org page and really encourage folks to sign up their events and activities there. We've also created a general Food Day Chicago email, and we just felt like with the number of partners that are at the table for this, a true team effort, it was really helpful so that we could all kind of be behind one point of contact and make it a little bit clearer for all of our community partners that are looking to get involved in Food Day. So I'm just going to briefly talk through some of the new opportunities that we're excited about this year for Food Day in Chicago, and we'd love to share more about this concept if other folks find value in it and think that they might be able to replicate it in your own city, region, location. We're looking at doing produce of the month. So if you go to the next slide, you'll actually see the produce and the fruits and vegetables that we have laid out. So we've built out this calendar, and I'm just going to hurry us through to the next slide and say what we're really going to encourage folks to do is think about that fruit or vegetable of the month and really consider, how is this grown? What are the health benefits? How do I interact with this food in my day-to-day life? And we're going to encourage folks to get involved and contribute their thoughts and comments online through our social media. We've set up a random number collector so that a random number will be drawn of people that actually contributed to this conversation online, and then we'll be able to literally deliver that fruit or vegetable to that person as a thank you for being engaged and actively involved. And we are getting that produce from different local farms that are interested to contribute to Food Day. So we're really excited about the fact that we're looking to engage people in social media, getting them to really think about their responsiveness to the issue, and then also to be able to provide a hands-on, tangible incentive for being involved. So I just want to, for the last piece here is that sort of tied to this is we're really encouraging that folks host events between now and October and label it a local Food Day event so that folks are starting to see the Food Day Chicago logo well in advance of October. So when October rolls around, folks will recognize the logo, they'll want to get involved, they'll say, hey, I know what that is, they'll come out for the big collective event and we can have a big splash here in Chicago. So I apologize, I tried to go as quickly as possible, and I hope I covered everything. But this is our plan for Chicago in 2013. We're constantly revising it based on community feedback, and we'd certainly love to work with you all and learn from you about how you've been able to work on Food Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Really great presentation, and I know people will be excited to see those slides later too. So we're going to move on to Lindsay Scalera from Michigan Voices for Good Food Policy. And Lindsay, you should be able to show your screen now too. Okay, we see your slides.
Okay, can everyone hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thanks. So thanks for having me. I am Lindsay Scalera. I work for a project called Michigan Voices for Good Food Policy. And our role in Michigan right now is a grassroots project to elevate voices of Michigan residents and farmers around policies that support good food. And we are a project of the National Sustainable Agriculture Coalition. It's a coalition building project, which I can explain in a second. But just in case you're not familiar, the National Sustainable Agriculture Coalition, they have over 95 organizations that are members, and it's an alliance of grassroots organizations that advocate for good food policies at the federal level. And we're looking to advance sustainable agriculture and everything else that kind of goes along with that. You can check it out at sustainableagriculture.net. The blog is really helpful. So Food Day in Michigan, this was my first year, 2012 was my first year working on it in any capacity. From what I understand, folks had done some stuff in 2011, And this year, last year I had been reached out to by Haley because NSAC and Center for Science for the Public Interest often partner on things, and Food Day is definitely one of those things. So Haley had contacted me to just get in touch about what could happen, and she was organizing some folks. And so just for a little background, in Michigan, there's a ton of really cool things happening, as with, I think all of us would probably think that about our own states as well. But there's a ton of cool things happening. Some examples include there's a food network, a statewide food hub network, a lot of farm to school work. We have the Fair Food Network is based here, and they worked tirelessly on getting SNAP incentives into the previous iteration of the Farm Bill, and we have a pilot project here called Double Up Food Bucks. We had, I think in 2011, we had an 11% increase in farmers markets around the state. There are 6 NSAC member organizations here. There is a good food charter for the state that the Michigan Food Policy Council, along with the other orgs, helped to develop, and that's sort of their guiding document. And lots of local food policy councils around the state have been springing up. So there's a lot of food systems work happening. A lot of them are complementary to each other or related in some way. So it makes a lot of sense for Michigan to participate in Food Day because so much stuff is happening all the time. So in 2012, like I said, Haley had done some outreach around the Southeast Michigan region. As far as I know, we ended up having a meeting in Detroit with a whole bunch of different people working on some things to see what could happen. And a lot of people had a lot of great ideas. They could see how Food Day fit in with what they were already working on. Some of them had taken on the responsibility of doing some small Food Day things the year before through their organizations. And generally people were on board to do something for Food Day. But one thing that came to light that was a little bit of a challenge for us was that, like our two previous speakers have discussed, it's definitely helpful to have a coordinator for the whole, to do something larger, a statewide effort or even a regional effort. Definitely helpful to have a coordinator. However, with our group, we just weren't there yet. The people who had come to the table, of all those groups, you know, everybody's working so hard on all the different things that they're doing, there wasn't necessarily one person who could really take point on doing something, you know, a larger outreach. Really, and that for us at the time, I think we talked about having some sort of, having a blog or having some way to communicate with each other and having someone to kind of keep on top of, you know, what's going on in the state and encouraging people to sign up on a more frequent basis. So what ended up happening was folks, it ended up sort of being a repeat with an expansion, I think, of what happened in 2011. So folks did their own thing. A lot of folks did register with the national site, and they did something for Food Day. So it wasn't ideal, but we kind of, you know, decided to take some smaller steps to do something meaningful for Food Day. And like I say here in my slide, that I think it's helping us plan ahead a little bit. This year, I'm hoping that we'll be able to find a student or someone to fill that coordinator role, just so we can at least have a sort of a statewide point person who can kind of figure out what's happening all around the state and see if there's ways, you know, for folks to connect. So the good news is that because my position with NSAC, which is grassroots organizer, I was able to use some of my time to do a couple things that, you know, helped push it forward a little bit. I'm not going to take credit really for anything other than keeping up our Facebook page. So because for my position, I am already on social media, it's pretty easy for me to just kind of, you know, share things throughout the week. I was able to do that for us. So the person who had run it last year, she added me as an administrator. So we did have a Facebook page, and I think we saw an increase in followers. And I was just, you know, creating a new, let me escape for a second, creating a new little Facebook timeline here, banner. By the way, this is a good resource, PicMonkey, it's free. Anyway, I'm able to keep that up, and I'll keep doing that as long as I can. just to keep sort of Michigan food system stuff in the news or in the timelines of folks on Facebook. Hopefully we'll be able to increase that out to Twitter and some other social media this year. I was also able to send out reminders and encouragement via social media and all the various email discussion lists. We have quite a few, like I've listed before. There's a lot of organizations doing a lot of work, and most of them have some kind of listserv or communicate with each other. So we were able to, send out reminders about events happening or reminding people to register their events in the weeks leading up to Food Day. And I was also able to help coordinate an event here locally, and I'll give you some details on that just for an example. So those are just some smaller things that we were able to do. Here's our Facebook page. We have 99 likes. That's pretty cool. Not too many people, but it's good. So that's one way that people can get in touch with us. So even though we didn't have like a coordinated statewide effort, like I said, Southeast Michigan did have a pretty good Food Day presence. There were a lot of folks doing things. I went and checked the registry, during the weeks ahead, and saw that there were some good things. There were a lot of things happening in October that sort of linked into Food Day. And then also there were some other regional things happening around the state, which was cool. For example, the Keweenaw folks, which is way up at the tip top of the Upper Peninsula, they had their own Facebook team and Facebook page, and our page liked their page, and their page liked our page, and so that was a little cross promotion there. So it was good to see that other folks had taken on having a more coordinated effort, like around in smaller regions. So what we did here in Ipsy, it was very simple. The market manager for our local farmers market, who works for, which is an organization, Growing Hope, and I met along with their outreach person, and we just had probably an hour meeting and discussed, what are some things we can do at the farmers market, some adaptations of what they did last year, some of the new stuff. We sat down and went through the resources that foodday.org had posted, found those to be pretty helpful, and what we ended up doing was there were signs throughout the farmers market. I wish I had a picture of those, but there were signs throughout the farmers market, which is not a large market, but it gets very good. It's a well-attended market that kind of had a "Did you know" sort of theme. So there were different food facts. There was they gave me a table, and so on my table I had we had a national action happening that day, launching on Food Day, and so there was a petition that people could sign for the Farm Bill. And I was there to explain that and answer questions. I could also talk to people about what Food Day is and letting them know that happens every year. I was also able to represent our local food policy council and get some folks to sign up for more information on that. So we had a little table. And then the picture here, which I thought was really cool and wanted to share it with you, our market manager just took a couple, not too much time. She went to our local grocery store, Kroger, and found out what some of the common items that you can purchase even in October at our farmers market, and did a little price comparison and kind of set it up there at their information table, and then had some Food Day handouts there that we, I believe that those are directly from the Food Day resources. So, and she was there to kind of answer those questions, or there were some folks who could engage people in discussion on that. So those are really small, simple things that I think when people were interacting with them, there was a lot of meaning for them. It made a lot of sense. Some of them you can see in this picture are a little bit higher or lower depending on where you're at, but what I think is cool about this is it shows how close they are, and that you can then have a discussion about how, in price that is, and then you can then have a discussion about how, so this is so close in price, but what's the local impact of all these individual choices, and how does it fit into a larger food system. So there were some things that we did, and of course, and I wanted to mention too that while I was there, I have my smartphone, I was live tweeting and posting on Facebook, what we were doing, saying, hey, we're down at the farmers market, come and check us out. So, and it went out in their newsletter, and we did some page posts ahead of time. So that's just one example of a thing that we did in Michigan. And then just to kind of close it out, some of the lessons we learned. I think that a coordinator, and this is sort of like duh, but a coordinator is definitely key for thinking statewide or regionally. Again, I think that's the longer vision, is that we'll have an organization in Michigan who will have the capacity to help coordinate a food day effort, and just to help explain to people and do some outreach that people and organizations that you can fit it in with stuff you're already doing or planning it well in advance to make it work together. Since it's a national day, there's more attention, that kind of a thing. But like I said, you can always do something meaningful without a coordinator, and my sort of advice to myself and others is that we can seek out examples of what other folks have done and adapt those for the community. And like I said, those resources are on foodday.org. And I just want to echo what Catherine was saying, is that those resources are really practical. So just speaking from on the ground, like whether like the folks I was working with were pretty seasoned as far as like how to do an event, but the wording that was in there was really helpful for us to put together some of the marketing materials, the sample posters and things. All that stuff was really practical and helpful. And I did also share, I didn't put this in my slide, but I did share, my previous job was working with schools, and so I did share the education resource packet with a coalition of schools as well. And I'm not sure they ended up doing anything with it, but looking over it, I thought that was also very helpful. So I think that was it. I just kind of rushed through it, so if there's questions, we can talk about it later. But yeah, hopefully we'll be able to do something this year. My contract ends in September 30th, so I'm just going to work on building capacity. And one thing I didn't put in here is I'm hoping to do a round of farmers market this season, so around the state. So I'll be bringing food day info with me along to, you know, outreach around the state as well. And I'll end there. Thanks.
Lindsay, thank you so much. Those were some really great examples, and especially on the social media, I think you really elaborated into what you all were able to accomplish with that. So thank you. And I want to give Gordon Rock from Kansas City a few minutes, maybe 2 or 3, to just describe what they were able to accomplish in Kansas City last year for Food Day. So Gordon, if you're there, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Catherine, for allowing me to speak. What we did in Food Day Kansas City was simply spreading the word about Food Day by strewing apple share events throughout the metropolitan area. Because they were sort of at the core of health and an easy and inexpensive way to, you know, eat real food. One of the people that was a member of our group, Karen Siebert from Harvesters, which is a local food bank, a rather large one, suggested that maybe we should do something symbolic like apples, which runs all the way through biblical times to whatever. So in celebration, what we did is we just handed out via volunteers at many diverse sites, actually, that we found we sort of worked on core-wise at KU Medical Center, St. Luke's Hospital, American Century Investments, Children's Mercy Hospital, and the Kansas City Metropolitan Transportation Hub, as well as Truman Medical Center, and finally the Department of Motor Vehicles. A number of, just a huge number of apples which were donated by a local organization, and also donated by Chipotle in part. So what the idea was which was a good one, and luckily for me, I ended up being the chairman of this thing. We sort of gathered a veritable all-star cast of people who were impassioned about real food and ending hunger, all the way from people that worked for the Greater Kansas City Food Policy Coalition. Catherine, you know her, Beth Lowe, dietitians, people that worked to end hunger throughout Kansas City, people that worked significantly in the local food program but also owned a bistro where we had our meetings, and as well as the lady from Harvesters, to arrive at this decision, and it ended up just going quite well, actually. The key to as far as I was concerned, to the whole thing was that every time that we sat down together as a group, we had an agenda, a written agenda that we worked on. And then when we completed that day, somebody was assigned the job of doing the minutes. It wasn't the same person every time. We passed it around. And we sort of focused on, what were the facts that we need to work on, and what things can we do to be successful on this food day, but also in future food days. And I'll try to make it quick here, but I do believe that one of the things that was that I want to do for 2013 that we didn't do in 2012 because we just had some limitations on time, is not only, we do have a Facebook presence, we also have a website, thankfully to somebody named Jamie Pearson of Slow Foods. But we want to have more corporate partners, meaning an internet presence at various corporations around the city and in the greater Kansas City area, of course. We also want to have more advanced warning. I think that Lesley spoke about that earlier somewhat. That is that people should know when Food Day is before Food Day. I remember voting that year, and I had my Food Day T-shirt on for some reason. And some lady stopped me at the voting booth and said, "Hey, when was Food Day?" So she didn't even know that Food Day existed, even though we had a media presence and the like. The other thing that I thought would be important is something that somebody spoke about earlier, which is to keep working on a film fest kind of situation. That is where you show several food films at a local theater, which we've got that underway. We just don't have those screenings quite done yet. And something that has always bothered me as I read more and I listen to people talk is I'm concerned about the fact that Food Day is considered to be somewhat elitist, which is totally wrong and completely contrary to the whole notion of Food Day. And somehow when you deliver your message to the people that you're handing apples out to or whatever you're doing in your Food Day organization, I think it's important that you try to communicate that in a different way. Of course, don't use that word, the E word, but it is something you're trying to help people that are in the grassroots situation. They're not people that are sitting up above in some ivory tower. Finally, I thought that the information that we got from the CSPI was really helpful throughout the whole event. And certainly the logo is quite beautiful, I must say that. And I think symbols are important, which is why we went with apples. I think that people should understand that that the whole core issue is to try to make sure that we eat better. Not perfectly, but better. And I do think I would agree with some of the earlier speakers about the mayoral letters and proclamations, which we had one from, I think, almost every city in the greater Kansas City area, that were these huge things that they displayed everywhere to keep people aware of the fact that there is something in our daily life, which is food, that we should be consuming properly, and again, not perfectly, but as best we can. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. I have all this information in front of me that we worked on for a great long time, and like I said, there was a huge number there's a great number of people that really were passionate about food and real food and ending hunger that were on the committee, and it was extremely helpful for me just to listen to their thoughts.
Thank you so much, Gordon. And yes, I do encourage people to reach out to us directly. I'll send the follow-up email, and if you have more questions for Gordon or any of the other presenters, they really have a wealth of information to share. So I hope you will get in touch with them. And thank you all for being on the call and presenting today. So I wanted to give everyone a chance to either type in questions or comments or a brief introduction of themselves. Or you can press the raise hand button if you'd like to be unmuted and say hello to the audience. And so feel free to go ahead and type in questions if you have them. If not, we can just send out a follow-up, and you can actually contact the folks on the call directly or be in touch with me. So any of the panelists object to sharing their slides, or is it all right to share those with the audience?
I don't have any, so I have no objection.
Except for Gordon there. All right. Well, thank you all so much. And for those who didn't get a chance to introduce themselves or type in comments, just reach out to us by email, and we'd love to follow up with a conversation, a phone call. So let us know. We're here to help, and we hope this is a bigger and better food day than last year, even though last year's was pretty amazing, as we saw from the presenters today. So thanks again, everyone, and we'll end the webinar here. Look for the follow-up email within 1 week, and you'll have the recording on hand. I hope you'll share that as well with others who weren't able to make the call. Thank you, Lesley, Lindsay, Gordon, and Katie, who had to jump off. And look forward to working with you all again this year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. There.